Welcome to the Tooth and Coin podcast, where we drill into the financial side of dentistry, hopefully without putting you to sleep. I'm your host, Jonathan Van Horn, CEO of Tooth and Coin and dental CPA extraordinaire. Today, we're going to be diving into a question I hear all the time. Do I really need a dental-specific CPA? But instead of just giving you a yes or no answer, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. In this episode, I'm going to share the epic tale of Timmy the dentist. So Timmy's 3 years out of dental school. He has a wife, Winnie, a son, Jimmy, and let's say that Winnie is expecting their daughter, Bimmy, in a few months. Timmy is in the process of acquiring a dental practice and is about to start the epic tale of working with a CPA. I'm basing this off of real-world examples from the thousands of dentists that I've spoken to in the past. And by the way, we're also going to take a page out of Marvel's book and make Timmy a member of the multiverse to help explain what typically happens in the different situations that go along with Timmy's tale. And Timmy obviously is fictional, but again, these are things that I've pulled from real-world conversations. So in Universe 1, Timmy is going to decide to stick with the old CPA that the previous practice owner used. In Universe 2, Timmy is going to be lured by the flashy promises of a tax consultant that he found online. And a spoiler alert there, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And finally, in Universe 3, Timmy partners with a dental-specific CPA firm. And yes, we'll look at how the Tooth and Coin approach might play out there. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear picture of how each of these choices can impact a dental practice. Whether you're a new practice owner like Timmy, or you've been in the game for years, this episode will help you better understand what to look for in your CPA partner with your dental practice. So grab your favorite dental chair, sit back, and let's embark on this multiversal journey through the world of dental finances. It's time to see how a single decision can change the impact and world of Timmy, and maybe for you too. Okay, so we're in Universe 1. In this universe, Timmy has decided to stick with the practice's CPA firm. Let's call this firm CP&A Account. It sounds like a safe choice. They've been handling the practice's finance for years, and the previous owner is comfortable with them and assures Timmy that they're reliable and know the practice well. In terms of vetting out this firm, Timmy finds out that it's typically about $2,500 a year for his business tax return and about $1,000 or so for his personal tax return as well. This seems pretty reasonable to Timmy, especially when the previous owner mentions it's only increased by about $500 over the past 5 years. Timmy also went online, looked at price ranges for professional tax firms to do the work for him. And, it's on the bottom end of average, but it's pretty reasonable compared to what he's seen online. So quick cutaway here. Before we get into Timmy's experience, I want to talk a little bit about the CPA side of things, because it's important to understand what CP&A accounting's perspective is in this. And so we're going to say that they're a traditional generalist CPA firm that's been around for decades. Their primary goal is to ensure tax compliance for their clients across various industries, and they take pride in their accuracy and timeliness. They sincerely want to do a good job. They care about their clients. And for them, success means filing tax returns, maintaining a steady client base, and they're not necessarily focused on industry-specific optimization or proactive advice. It's just not a part of their business model. In this more traditional CPA firm style, it's not too uncommon for their smartest and best team members to work between 70 to 90 hours a week during busy season and up to 50 to 60 hours a week throughout the rest of the year to help accomplish all of this for their clients. Now, what does that mean? It means that there literally isn't enough time in the day for that firm to focus on anything else other than tax compliance for their clients. And while their clients may ask them for extra help, most of the time their default answer has to be no, because they don't have the time to research and answer the questions that the client has, because it'd be just hours and hours of work with no guarantee of a positive outcome for the client. And at the same time, those hours and hours and hours of work can end up costing the client hundreds or even thousands of dollars in billable time. So there's just no reason to offer that service to those clients. So back over to Timmy. At first, everything seemed fine. CPA accounting efficiently processed Timmy's tax returns, and he feels relieved to have this part of his business handled. He has Sandra, the office manager, continue to do the bookkeeping just as she always had, and Timmy trusts that she knows what she's doing because she's been doing it for so long. As the months go on, Timmy starts to feel a little bit of uncertainty. He knows he's making money, there's cash in the bank after all, but he can't shake the feeling that he doesn't really understand how well the practice is performing. When he looks at his bank balance, he sees a pretty healthy number, and it's a number that he's happy with. But then he remembers all the student loans, the practice loan, and all the other expenses that are piling up. And he starts to question, is he really doing well or is he just staying afloat? Well, Timmy also notices that his interactions with CP&A accounting are limited to tax season. They don't really offer regular check-ins or proactive advice. He just drops his stuff off at the end of the year. They clean it up and put it on a tax return for him. And it isn't because they don't care. It's just because their business model is built around tax compliance, not ongoing advice. So tax season comes around and Timmy is hit with a really large tax bill that he wasn't expecting. He thought he'd been settling enough aside, but apparently not. So he calls CP&A accounting and explains his situation, but the firm says this is normal for a profitable business. Unfortunately, that's where the advice ends. They don't offer very much guidance on how to plan it better for next year or even define what they mean by the practice is profitable. So when Timmy sees how much money he made for the year, he's also surprised because that's the first time he's seen that number, and it sure doesn't feel like he made that much. As time keeps going on, Timmy starts to hear about opportunities that his colleagues are taking advantage of. Maybe things like tax credits. Maybe there's things like special depreciation and retirement planning strategies, entity structure optimizations. But when he brings all these things up to CP&A accounting, he gets a pretty non-committal response, if he even gets a response, or he gets dismissed outright, which leaves him even more confused than he was before. So 2 years into practice ownership, Timmy is almost at a breaking point. He's working harder than ever, but he doesn't feel like he's getting ahead. He doesn't get basic questions answered about his practice's financial health because Sandra's the one doing all the work. She's the one doing all the bookkeeping. So he doesn't know, is his profitability in line with industry standards? Is he saving enough for taxes or even retirement? How is his practice actually doing and how much money is he actually making? Obviously, Sandra can't answer these things for him because she's just doing the bookkeeping. And the CPA firm doesn't have a specialization, so they can't answer this either. And as time goes on, Timmy comes to understand that while CP&A accounting is competent and reliable when it comes to filing his tax returns, they're just not really equipped to provide that kind of proactive, dental-specific guidance he craves to truly understand and grow his practice. And this isn't a shortcoming on that CPA firm's part. They're delivering exactly the service that they've always provided, and they're doing it well. However, Timmy finds himself in a state of gnawing uncertainty about his practice's financial health and future. But despite all of this unease in this universe, Timmy hesitates to make a change. And after all, this is how it's always been done, right? So the previous owner always liked CP&A accounting. They did a good job for him, and that owner retired. Everything was fine. In this universe, Timmy decides to stay the course and just basically stays unaware that there might be better options out there that are better suited to hit his specific needs as a dental practice owner. And he's caught in this really common trap of not knowing what he doesn't know. And he's unable to see the potential benefits of a more specialized firm because he's never experienced them. And guys, this is really common. We have lots of people that call me and are in this situation. It's this little fog of uncertainty. And again, it's not because the CPA is incompetent. I would never say that. It's because there's just a mismatch between what that practice owner needs and what that CPA firm is set up to provide. So traditional CPA firms like CP&A accounting do play a crucial role in ensuring tax compliance, but they may not be equipped to offer the industry-specific proactive guidance that many dental practice owners need to be able to thrive. And in Timmy's case, he's just realizing that he needs more than just tax compliance. He needs some context around his financial performance and his business in general. And again, as a quick aside, let's be clear, this Timmy is going to be fine. He runs a profitable business. It's just a question of, could he do it better? So in our next segment, we're going to explore how an alternate universe Timmy can potentially navigate out of this financial fog. So stay tuned to see how the right CPA firm can transform uncertainty into confidence and confusion into clarity. Okay, so we're going to go to universe 2, and we're going to say that Timmy is 2 years into practice ownership. He's feeling frustrated with CPA and accounting, and he's working harder than ever, but his tax bills keep growing. That's when he stumbles upon a flashy social media ad. It says, "Dentist, slash your taxes by 90% guaranteed. If you make over $200,000 a year, click here." The ad features a charismatic guy in a sharp suit leaning against a luxury car. Intrigued and desperate for a change, Timmy clicks. In the ad, the tax consultant, let's call him Slick Steve, promises Timmy the moon and the stars. "With my proprietary system," Steve claims, "you'll keep more of your hard-earned money. The IRS hates me for this one weird trick." And in the video, Steve shows that someone was going to owe $500,000 to the IRS, and Steve got the tax bill to $0. The numbers were on the screen, so it has to be real, right? Timmy, still stinging from his last unexpected tax bill, is hooked. He schedules a consultation. Timmy logs on to the Zoom call, and as the screen loads, Timmy's greeted by Steve's megawatt smile, set against a backdrop of what looks like a high-end office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. "Timmy, my man, great to meet you virtually," Steve says, his enthusiasm palpable even through the screen. And over the next hour, Steve shares his screen, walking Timmy through slick presentations and eye-popping charts. He talks about interesting investments, complex business structures, and little-known loopholes that can dramatically reduce Timmy's tax burden. All of these things are things that Timmy knew were things that are out there, but didn't know anyone who could teach him about them. So he's listening. "You see, Timmy," Steve explains, leaning closer to the camera for emphasis, "the tax code is like a maze. Most people, even most CPAs, only know the basic path, but I've mastered every shortcut, every hidden passage. With my system, we'll navigate that maze and come out with more money in your pocket than you ever thought possible. After all, the mega rich don't pay taxes. Why should you?" Timmy's eyes are just glued to the screen, watching as Steve shows projection after projection of potential savings, and the numbers just seem staggering. "But is this all legal?" Timmy asks, voicing his concern into his mic. Steve's smile never falters. "It's all about knowing how to work the system, Timmy. The ultra wealthy have been using these strategies for years. I'm just leveling the playing field for hardworking professionals like you." And as the Zoom call nears its end, Timmy's practically on the edge of his seat, eager to get started. He's finally figured out the secrets to be able to pay less in taxes. And that's when Steve starts talking about how he prices his services. And to be fair, now, Timmy, I know you're used to paying your old CPA firm a certain amount of money for preparing those tax returns, and my services are a bit more premium and a bit more strategized. So you need to think about this as an investment in your financial future, Steve says. So he shares the screen one last time, displaying a slick pricing page. It's going to be about $10,000 up front for his onboarding fee, and it's going to be about $10,000 for the strategies, based on an estimate of saving about $100,000 in taxes in excess of the last year. Steve explains that is about a 500% ROI, and every year after that, it's a 1,000% ROI because you don't pay the onboarding fee anymore. It might seem like a lot now, Steve adds, noticing Timmy's reluctance. But remember that $500,000 tax bill I showed you earlier? Imagine what you could do with that kind of savings. My fee is just a fraction of what you'll keep in your pocket. If you just use one example of our services today, of our strategies today, we'll make you that money back in a heartbeat. So Timmy, dazzled by the promises, he agrees to Steve's terms right then and there. He gives him his credit card because he's eager to see his tax burden shrink and his wealth grow. So just like we did with CP&A, I'm going to talk about the perspective behind Slick Steve's curtain. So Steve isn't going to be a CPA. He's not an EA. He's not an attorney. He's just a savvy internet marketer who's found a lucrative niche in promising big tax savings to high-earning professionals. Steve believes that he's providing value by teaching people to outsmart the system of taxes. He's convinced himself that his aggressive strategies are just creative accounting. After all, he paid $10,000 to be taught all of these strategies in an online course, including how to target high-income earners to offer these services, as well as providing sourcing for investments to offer to the potential clients of the future. I mean, they even pay him a percentage of the investments that as a sponsor if he gets clients to buy into these investments. It's a win-win for everybody, right? But in reality, Steve's knowledge of the tax law is surface level at best, dangerous at worst. Many of these investments aren't even real investments, but Timmy is none the wiser. So back over to Timmy in Universe 2, the Timmy that has decided to switch away from CP&A accounting. So Timmy's going through it, and at first, Timmy's thrilled with the switch. Steve helped him set up maybe a complex network of LLCs, and he suggests writing off practically pretty much everything as a business expense. Also, Steve has him investing in a myriad of syndications and complex investments that, Timmy's excited about being a part of. Timmy's quarterly tax payments plummet, and he feels like he's finally getting ahead. As time goes on, Timmy starts to feel a little bit more uneasy. Some of these investments aren't really returning very much. In one investment, they projected a 5% vacancy rate in their syndication, but now they're reporting that they have about a 60% vacancy rate. Deadlines are taking longer than people imagine, and he's starting to worry about the $250,000 that he put into these investments. But Steve assures him it's all above board. This is what the big corporations do, he says. It's just the timing of the market right now. Everything will come in. The time in the market is what you need. So about a year into working with Steve, Timmy then notices something else that's odd. When it's time to file his return, Steve provides him with all these strategies and the numbers, but he tells Timmy he still needs to go find a CPA to file his return. Well, why can't you prepare it? Timmy asks. Oh, I'm a tax consultant. We don't do paperwork like filing tax returns, Steve assures him. Our time is focused on, exploring and navigating that maze of the tax code. Well, Timmy's confused and a bit alarmed, and so he reaches back out to CP&A to file his return. And when he presents them with all the strategies and the numbers that Steve has provided, the CPA is visibly concerned. These strategies are extremely aggressive, the CPA warns. Some of these deductions are questionable at best and potentially illegal at the worst. I can't in good conscience file this return and sign this return for you because these numbers are going to have substantial changes, unfortunately. Well, Timmy is really worried now, so he calls Steve back and says, hey, my CPA won't do this. So Steve says, oh, that CPA is just too old school. He doesn't understand these advanced strategies. He gives Timmy a referral for another CPA firm that, while they're much more expensive than CP&A, they don't really ask very many questions when filing the return. So some time goes on, a couple of years go by, and Timmy gets an audit notice. He's filed extensions and everything like that, but he still gets a notice in, even though Steve says that it's going to be okay. And he gets this letter from the IRS, and his heart sinks as he reads the words, your tax return has been selected for examination. In panic, Timmy calls Steve, who assures him it's no big deal. And he says, well, hey, you've got everything documented in front of you like we worked on. You should have the paperwork that I put before you. And remember, by the way, I'm just your consultant, not your tax preparer. You're going to need to have a CPA firm help you with this audit, or maybe even a tax attorney. And by the way, here's some referrals that I can give you for people that can help you with this. Now, Timmy's a bit more uneasy with Steve, and so he decides to reach out to his local tax attorney instead of the referrals that Steve gave him. And the audit's a nightmare. The IRS agent questions every deduction, every creative strategy, and Timmy struggles to explain the complex network of LLCs and investments, realizing he doesn't really even fully understand them himself. His tax attorney points out that all of these strategies have flaws in them because it's not as simple as just saying, hey, I'm going to use this strategy. There's certain elements that had to be in place, and they just were completely missed. They weren't put into place at all, and there was no oversight to make sure that the strategies were followed correctly. And finally, when the dust settles, Timmy owes back taxes, penalties, and interest totaling over $100,000. Worse, the IRS agent hints at potential fraud charges. So despite Timmy trying to reach out to Steve for help, Steve isn't answering his calls anymore. He's not answering his emails anymore. Steve's basically vanished. As Timmy's sitting with his tax attorney, who by the way is $500 an hour, the full weight of his mistake sinks in. He realizes that Steve, while perhaps well-intentioned, was out of his depth. He wasn't a trained tax professional, just someone who took a course and thought that he could outsmart the system. Timmy now faces years of repayments, a damaged reputation, and the stress of potential legal consequences, all because he fell for promises that were too good to be true. Even worse, he took a 50% wash on his investments, with one even going to $0, as apparently it was a Ponzi scheme. Well, when the dust settles, Timmy is out tens of thousands in professional fees, hundreds of thousands in taxes, and lost investments, as well as countless hours of time and stress. Oh, this universe has had a rough time, and it's an extreme case, but it's based off of real situations I've seen. The allure of massive tax savings can really be tempting, especially when you're facing big tax bills and feeling frustrated with your current CPA. But remember, a legitimate tax professional will pretty much always sign the returns that they're preparing for you, and they're going to have the proper credentials, being a CPA, EA, or attorney. So if someone offers you some secret tax strategies but won't put their name on the line, it's a huge red flag. And legitimate tax planning can help you save money, but it should always operate within the bounds of the law. As a quick aside, I also want to make sure that I state that I don't want people to think that I'm like anti-creativity when it comes to tax planning. I just believe that there are plenty of valid ways to do it within the confines of the tax law. So in our next segment, we're going to see how Timmy fares in our third universe, you going with a more dental specific CPA. So stay tuned to see how specialized knowledge can make a world of difference without landing you in hot water with the IRS. Okay, ambitious dentists, let's wrap up our journey through Timmy's financial multiverse. We've seen three very different scenarios play out in these different universes. In universe number one, Timmy stuck with the traditional CPA firm. He got basic tax compliance he was taken care of, but he was left feeling uncertain about his finances and missed out on potential savings. including having Sandra likely continuing to make bookkeeping errors not caught by his CPA. In universe number 2, Timmy fell for the flashy promises of a tax consultant. And so while he saw some short-term benefits, it ultimately led to serious legal and financial troubles. In universe number 3, Timmy partnered with a dental-specific CPA firm. This choice came with a higher price tag, but provided comprehensive financial management, significant tax savings, as well as peace of mind. So whether you're more like Timmy number 1, number 2, or number 3 right now, it's never too late to reassess your financial partnerships and make sure that they're still serving you well. Your practice's financial health is just too important to leave to chance or to entrust to someone who doesn't truly understand the unique elements of your business and have your best interest at heart. So thank you today for joining us on this multiversal journey through the world of dental finances and the magical epic tale of Timmy the dentist. So until next time, keep smiling and keep your finances as healthy as your patient's teeth. And who knows, maybe in universe number 4, Timmy, Winnie, Jimmy, and Bimmy open a family dental practice and live happily ever after. But that's a story for another day. Thanks for tuning in to the Tooth and Coin podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with a fellow dentist or a practice owner who could benefit. Your word of mouth helps us spread financial wisdom throughout the dental community. So until next time, keep building that thriving practice.